illusion motion.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I see you, Kim Edmondson, and no, y'all did not hear from Isaiah this morning because he's trying to make his way to work. I see you, Dr. Antoinette and Adrian. What's up? Good morning, Davia. Let's see, Regina, good morning. Marion Jackson, good morning. Heather, good morning. Yeah, how's it in Ohio? What a way to have an alarm in the morning, right? I was like, what is going on? Davey, I know you're over here by me. I promise you that thing went off about 10 times. I was like, what is happening right about now? And then that rain was just crazy. It was absolutely crazy. So that was how we woke up this morning. I was like, and this is only February. Hey, y'all, y'all know I really don't care how I dress, but excuse the sweatshirt. But, I had to go through yesterday, and I did. So I'm doing so much better. So thank you. The prayers of the righteous availeth much. I promise y'all that's worse than giving childbirth, for real. Y'all, today is Wednesday, February the 28th, 2024. I am your host, Gail Dudley. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And thank you, everybody, for going over to YouTube. Now, only because I'm like about to burst, let me share something with you. Bam! Y'all, look how thick this sucker is. So no, y'all are not doing pickups. I've had people ask me that already. No, I will sign them and ship them. Y'all, this book is a hardback. I'm in awe of it. It's amazing. I cried. This was the best thing that happened when that box showed up yesterday. It put a smile on my face, but I'm so excited about this. I think this is the best one I've ever done. So this is number 15, y'all. And I'm so excited about it. I can't wait till y'all get this in your hands. So no, y'all are not doing pickups. You're not doing pickups. I will be sending these, and I'll be sending the media mail, because see the thickness of that baby. Y'all see that? It costs so much more to ship this thing than I initially had thought about it. Thank you, Davia. Thank you, Deborah. Yeah, it was funny. My husband, because I always give him the first copy. So I opened the box, I gave it to him, and he said, look at you on the front. I said, let me tell you the reason I went with me on the front. And he thought it was a great idea. I said, because I inspire people, and this book is called Inspire. So the person who inspires people need to be on the front. So y'all, I'm so excited. And some of you have inquired about a book reading or a book signing. And there's some of you who have already said you wanted to host one. So we're going to connect and figure out how to roll this baby out. But again, those who ordered the book in 2022, you'll get yours first. So on one day, I'll ship those first, and I'll give it a couple of days, and then I'll ship the remaining pre-orders. And I do not have it on Amazon yet until all of you get your books, and then I will let it go live on Amazon. But right now I'm holding back from Amazon because I want to just say thank you to all of you. So I don't want to get emotional, but y'all, this is the book, and it's 426 pages. It's 426 pages. So it was well worth the wait. So wanted to make sure I got that out. This is news, y'all. This is news. This is more important than the headlines. So there it is. So I'm really excited about it. I'm so excited about it. All right, y'all. So what's happening today in the news? What's happening? Well, we start off with the Michigan primaries, which they don't look good. Let me just be honest. So former President Donald Trump wins the Michigan GOP primary, taking an estimated 66% of the vote as of the early returns, followed by former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley at 30%. And I want y'all to hear this. That is not bad. The other thing I want to share with you all, everybody didn't go to the polls to do primary. So this is sending a interesting message when it comes to the 2024 elections. People are fatigued. They're over it. They're done with it. And I think we need to really have some legislation that says I don't want to talk about 2026 come 2025. I don't want to do that. And we probably need to balance that. Good morning, Deborah. And then President Joe Biden, of course, wins the Democratic primary. So here's what's necessary. If I can just be real with y'all this morning, what's necessary is that we get out to vote in a different way, because people are already saying they're staying home. That's what they're saying. They're like, I'm not doing that. And in the contest, people are starting to say they're two older men. Now, I don't think age should have anything to do with it, but we have to pay attention to what these millennials and these Gen Zs and others are stating. They're like, we're not into this, or Gen X. I don't know which one's which. We're not into this. We're not excited about this. Nothing is showing that. So even with President Joe Biden, roughly 15% of the vote went to uncommitted. And this is with voters protesting the U.S. role in the Israel-Hamas war. So that cannot be ignored either. Now, what's interesting, because I dug into why is all of this centered around Michigan when it comes to this uncommitted vote. Now, there's an activist who has organized a group called Uncommitted. And they were saying they're disillusioned by President Biden's handling of the war in Gaza. And they're making headway. They've already surpassed 10,000 vote margin, saying they're like, just be uncommitted when it comes to Biden. And so AP did a report. I want y'all to follow along. Michigan has the largest concentration of Arab Americans in the nation. That's more than 310,000 residents are Middle Eastern or North Africa ancestry. Now, nearly half of the Detroit suburb of Dearborn, roughly about 110,000 residents, claim Arab ancestry. So they're starting this uncommitted campaign. And they're saying because they just do not like the fact that we're sending money or weapons, or we have not ordered a ceasefire. Well, yeah, that's really not true. There's been several proposals for ceasefire from the Biden administration to Netanyahu. So ultimately, he has the final word, being in Israel. So it's not true that there have not been proposals for ceasefire. And I'm slow walking this because I want y'all to hear me, and then take this information, share it with somebody else. So both the White House and the Biden campaign officials have made trips to Michigan to talk to these individuals, saying, look, this is how this works, and this is what's happening. But they're still saying, nope, there should be a ceasefire. So we got to watch this unfold, and people are real upset, as am I, as in so many others, who are saying we're talking nearly 30,000 women and children. So we need to address it. That's a human rights issue. So where's the UN in on this? And why can't we have these conversations and make sure we're taking care of women and children? Which I completely agree with that. So if y'all don't mind, this is technically Workshop Wednesday. So I want to slow walk us through some things, because this can be the lowest general election in a very long time. Good morning, Sardinia. Good morning, Stephanie. And people, they're just not excited. They're saying they're not excited. So, of course, I have some critical thinking questions. As I was like lying in that ER room, y'all finally went to the ER, okay? Because I couldn't do it anymore. And I don't like taking medication, okay? So I was in so much pain. The doctor said, look, we got to give you something. I was like, all right. Y'all, I didn't know they was going to give me morphine. I don't like the way that makes me. I don't know how people can do some of the things that they do, because I'm like, I don't like feeling this way. But y'all, when I say that pain stopped immediately, it did. And with that, I was able to start thinking. So I started coming up with some critical thinking questions. Yes, I had my iPad in the ER. Okay. So here are some questions that I believe that we must ask ourselves when we're going into this election, including the primaries. those that are coming up. You have 16 states on Tuesday. Ohio, you're March the 19th, and then there's others. If you receive the Friday rundown, the calendar is in there. I was going to give you that information today, but I'll give it to you tomorrow. All right, so number one, what are the key policy differences between the candidates? We got to start looking at what are the key policy differences. We have to sit aside personality, rhetoric, all of that. We have to dig deep. So that's what today is focused on. And if you sign off, I get it. You don't want to hear about it. I got it. But for those of you who want to listen, listen. So what are some of the key policies differences between the candidates, and how do they align with your own values and beliefs? So how do they align with that? So what are the key differences, and how do they align with your own values and beliefs? Good morning, Isaiah. Number two, how do the candidates' past actions and decisions inform their suitability for presidency? So let's look at their past actions. Like, how have they acted? How have they interacted? Have they followed through? Tomorrow on News in Motion, we're going to go through several fact sheets from the Biden administration, and these are all based upon facts. That's the only thing I'm going to share with you tomorrow. So if you want to tune in with that, do so. But I shared with you all yesterday, I'm going to start using my personal Facebook page to put this kind of information, something I don't usually do, but I'm going to, because it's that important. And by the way, Denise Hodge out of New York, she always watches the replay. She said, your preacher voice came out yesterday. I said, that's how riled up I am about all of this. Number three, another question to consider. What are the candidates' stance on critical issues, y'all, such as war, such as military aid, such as healthcare, the economy, foreign policy, and climate change? And how do they individually address these issues? Not a spin. Look at past votes. We got to vet people. We got to get an understanding here. So looking at that. Number four, how have the candidates conducted themselves? We know what that's like. During the campaign, and what does this reveal about their leadership style and character? We have to pay attention to some of these things, y'all. We just cannot just write somebody off like, oh, that's just him. No, there's something underneath that. And why is that happening? And why this rhetoric? And why are you trying to associate your 91 counts to criminals in a particular community? What does that make sense to me? Why are we focused on the age? Get to the root and have an understanding about where that's coming from. What's their leadership style? You know, I can go back to 2016, 17, 18, 19, and I was like, man, this is so uncomfortable. 20, I was able to breathe. Okay. So do we have, let's put this on the table. Do we have the best two candidates? All I know is the fact sheets I can see from one administration, from the fact sheets that they won't even produce from the previous administration. You can go back to fact sheets all the way dating back to former now deceased President Ronald Reagan. There were fact sheets. You were able to look at it and to do your research and to vet them to have an understanding. There's nothing from 2016 to 2019. There's a problem with that. I'm sorry, from 2017 to 2020. There's a problem with that. So what's the characteristics? And we have to look at that. And then number five, what are the potential impacts of each candidate's proposed policies on different demographic groups, including the marginalized communities? Y'all know I was going to say that, right? The marginalized communities. So what's the potential impact? You know, we hear you with us now, but once you get in, if you get in and get sworn in, will you be with us then? What's the impact? And you can look at previous news articles, previous executive orders that were signed, so forth and so on. You look at those things. And the marginalized communities, why are there so many marginalized communities? That's another angle that you can look at. Kim Edmondson, no fact sheets. What are they hiding? I don't know. Remember they were on the stage and in the bathroom at Mar-a-Lago. How have the candidates responded to criticism and adversity? And the reason I was thinking through that particular question, because when someone says something about one of the individual people, they come out with ready to attack someone. Yes, no fact sheets, y'all, no fact sheets. Um, uh, and how does this reflect their ability to handle challenges as president? And we've seen some of that. We've seen some of that. So you cannot ignore this truth that is staring at us in our faces. What are the candidates' track records of integrity, honesty, and transparency? And how does this affect their trustworthiness? Well, let's be honest. There's a lack of transparency on both sides. But then when you weigh the difference, who has the greater margin of transparency? That's how you look at this. Number 8, how do the candidates' running mates, which we don't know one yet, potential cabinet selections influence your perception of their leadership ability and policy agendas? We've already heard how the former guy, Donald Trump, said how he's not going to use the same measure of putting people in a candidate role. So who are the possible candidates? Are these individual people who have been indicted? Are these individual people who are waiting on their court hearing? We don't know who he's going to put in there. I mean, we have to pay attention to that. That's so important. Number 8, how do the candidates, I talked about the running mates. Number 9, how do the candidates' visions for the future of the country resonate? You gotta look at your own life and your family's life. Resonate with my hopes and aspiration for a nation. How do they resonate with you? And again, get beyond the hype, the tennis shoes, the t-shirts, the mugs, even the whole thing with Biden and Brandon, go Brandon. It's like, okay, let's set all that aside and let's really dig in and look at it. Dr. Antoinette says, how are they on the world stage? We are part of the global community. You're absolutely correct. And then Deborah Sneed said, I have trouble trying to figure out who is telling the truth. And there's truth to that. I'm with you on that. And then Kim Edmondson says, we know Buttercup is a criminal and a liar. We know that as well. And then number 10, what are the implications of each candidate's victory or loss for the nation's political landscape? And that goes back to something Dr. Antoinette's saying, both in the short term and in the long term. What's the demographics? What's the feel for people from other nations? Now, I wrote some questions, and I won't take as much time with these as I did with the previous ones, about getting millennials to vote, because they're like, I'm not in this. Like, forget this. And I think they should not just write it off. I don't, which means we're going to have to do a lot of work on our end to get them to come out to vote. Seriously, the GOTV, the get out the vote, has to be 100 when it gets to August, September, October. But encouraging millennials to vote in this election between two older candidates, man, it's going to really help them. We're going to have to connect the dots to where they are, to their money. Okay, and maybe that's going to be the point. Like, this is about your money, your credit, your investment, your small business, buying a home, buying stock, investments, buying a car. All of these things are going to connect to your bodies. Who's controlling that? To healthcare. We're going to have to get them to connect these things. So some questions I have here is, how do the policies proposed by both candidates align with the issues that matter most to you and your generation, such as student loan debt, affordable health care, climate change, and economic opportunities? I want y'all to hear this. Heather's saying, I have one child who votes and one who doesn't. Drives me crazy. And we got to get to the root of, why don't you vote? Well, we heard even from Iowa caucus where they're like, how did you call an election and there's still lines all over the place? I wasted my time leaving work, getting here, or finding a babysitter, getting here, or whatever it was to get here to vote. And in the cold in Iowa, like, it was like a blizzard, wasn't it? I know the temperatures, there was a lot of snow. There was something going on there with the weather, but they stood in line, and then they're on their phones and they're saying that the election has already been called. Like, we can't do that. That's discouraging. And then, despite feeling disillusioned with the political system, we need to ask our young people, do you believe that your vote can still make a difference in shaping the future direction of the country? And we need to listen to them and be able to respond to them. Number 3, are you willing to overlook any reservations you have about the candidates in order to prevent the election of someone whose values and policies you strongly oppose? We got to get them to also practice critical thinking. How can you leverage your collective voice as part of the millennial generation to advocate for change and to hold elected officials accountable beyond just casting your vote? Again, this cannot be a one and done, you're out. I vote and I'm gone on about my business. No, how are you going to hold the elected officials accountable? Number 5, do you feel adequately informed about the candidates' platforms, backgrounds, and policies proposals? Or do you need to do more research for an informed decision? Now, in talking to some millennials I know very well, they're like, oh, we're not doing all that. Well, you should. Okay. So how do we make this engaging and exciting for our millennials, for our younger people, our 18 to about maybe 36, 37, to have that connection? Because right now they don't have one. They don't have one. They're like, forget it. We got to get them to understand the only thing I keep thinking about is their money to their vote. There has to be a connection. Or let me know in the chat if y'all are feeling this at all. Even if you feel some of the same things that I'm putting out here before you today. Number 6, are there any specific initiatives or movements within your community that you believe could benefit from increased voter turnout among millennials? And how can you contribute to mobilizing your peers? And again, small groups, having these conversations. And again, if you have anything in your area that's happening and you vetted it, send it to us. We will kindly share it because we want to make the connection. College campuses is one thing. I believe Pastor Alex and his wife Laura's daughter is on college campuses now talking about this, having these focus groups. If you have the voter resource guide from News in Motion, go through that. There's a lot of information in there and how to put together focus groups. Let's see, reflecting on sacrifices made by previous generation to secure your right to vote. What responsibilities do you feel to exercise your own voting rights to honor their legacy? Making that connection. Let's go back to start having those stories. My grandparents used to always tell me stories about voting. And then considering the potential long-term consequences of this election. What kind of world do you want to create for the future generation? Now, that right there, they're into that. So even structuring your questions such as that, like, what are the potential long-term consequences? Like, what do you see? How are you going to create your future? They're into those kind of questions. Number 9, how can you overcome any feelings of apathy towards the political process and channel your energy into advocating? They're into that too. Get the young people out there advocating. Get the young people out there talking about what they love, what they desire, how they do. Kim Edmondson says, good morning. Kim Edmondson says, we have to convince them to turn their discontent into action. Yeah, I agree with that. And then finally, what role do you see yourself playing in shaping the future of the country? And how does voting in this election contribute to the broader goals and aspirations for yourself and your community? Those are just questions we have to look at. When I saw those numbers come in last night for Michigan, I immediately said, this is a sign. People are fatigued. They're tired. They're not interested. It's boring to some degree. It's really boring. Friday was popping because I was just shocked. Like, did this man really say this? But it's boring. No one's even talking about it. I don't know. We got to get some energy back into the voting cycle. So maybe this could encourage some people. We're facing another shutdown. So there was a meeting with President Biden and the 4 leaders, between 2 in the Senate and 2 in Congress. So you had Jeffries and Johnson, and you had Schumer and McConnell. I think even Pelosi showed up. So you have that. Hester says, I need to change my initials. Because I was like, HJ. Like, I think I know who that is, but I wasn't 100% sure. So thank you. Thank you. So Speaker Mike Johnson came out yesterday and he expressed some sort of optimism, okay, for federal funding after he left the meeting from the White House. And they're looking at a Friday deadline. So we're only a couple of days away. But as soon as he made that announcement, you had those I'm gonna be nice. Some individuals in the House stating we're not signing that. So he's in the middle of, is it my leadership, my speakership, my job more important than putting something on the floor? Will I be voted out? What's happening? So when we talk about prayer circles today, we need to pray for him that he moves in the right direction, okay, for the country. And so anyone that's in a position that can be shut down, think about that as well when you're voting. And then we had the Supreme Court today. Remember, this is a time they're hearing arguments. The decisions will be in mid to late June. So the U.S. Supreme Court today will hear arguments on the fate of bump stocks. If y'all know what that is, this is that semi-automatic rifle that fires continuously with one pull of the trigger. So they're going to hear from this. NPR reports that the president of the New Civil Liberties Alliance, the conservative group that is challenging the bump stock regulation, contends that bump stocks do not change the character of the weapon. Here's a direct quote from Mark. I just have Mark C, so I don't know the last name. It says, whether or not there's a bump stock attached to that semi-automatic weapon, a bump stock does not change the way the trigger operates. The trigger has to be pulled for each time the trigger moves. The trigger resets between each shot. So they're going to be hearing these oral arguments today about this, and then they'll make a determination later about which way they're going. So even when you're voting, you have to think about that as well. Then Macy's, y'all. Macy's is going to close 150 stores that they consider are unperforming. That's about 30% of its total stores by 2026. Now, the company expects to add some new locations of higher end department Macy's stores, such as Bloomingdale's and Blue Mercury. CNN Business is saying that they're a troubled retailer, and they're saying that Macy's will instead expand its higher end locations than the lower end. They're believing that lower end stores are really being turned into online stores. So you have that, y'all. And then Apple is trying to find its footing. Just don't mess with my phone or my iPad or my computer. You can do whatever else you want to. But they're canceling their first report of building an electric car. I had no business doing that anyway. But anyway, they're saying they're going to stick with the Apple Vision Pro. They're going to lay off about 2,000 employees, and they're going to move other employees to their AI project, and then they're going to work on the car with just like, for example, in Teslas, there's like this big old screen. So they're going to work on those types of things. So we're going to see what's going to happen with that. Again, tomorrow we're going to focus on facts from the Biden administration. And I know I'm not all pumped up today, y'all. Believe me, when you're coming down off of morphine, you're just like, okay, you can only give so much excitement. And those of you who've ever had kidney stones, bless you, because this was crazy. All right, before I get to the inspirational message today, again, it arrived. Don't call me. You'll get your book like everybody else will get their book. I'm going to sign them. I'm going to put notes in them, and we'll get them out. They're going to come media mail. So I'll probably start shipping them next week. So just be patient. But this is the book, y'all. It is absolutely amazing. So if you pre-ordered it, it will not be on Amazon yet. So if you were waiting saying, I'm going to get it on Amazon, it's not going to be on Amazon yet. I'm going to wait till everybody who's pre-ordered the book receives the book. Okay, that's what I'm waiting for. Now, the links haven't changed. So if you still want to get the discounted rate, you can do that by any of the links. I'm not posting a link today, but any link that you may still have, It's still live, so you can get it and you can get one early, but it will not be on Amazon yet until I make sure everybody has their book in hand who pre-ordered. And I'm really excited about this book. It's called Inspired, and then a call to action. Shout out to Pastor Carl Wright, who designed the front and back cover. Shout out to Kathy Curtis, who was the editor. And I'm glad she's doing well through all the storms, the hurricane, and everything else. But this is the book, and I'm excited about it. I'm so excited about it. I was excited about all my books, but I have a different excitement about this one. It took a long time to get it done, but it's done, so I'm excited. So here's the inspirational message for today. In this season, I have a list of 7 things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things that I want to share with you, and then we're out of here. 1, breathe. We got to learn how to breathe through all of this. And why I say that, as I was lying on that in that ER room yesterday, and Stephanie called me, and I was like, I can't even talk to her because I was like out of it. But I text her back. So Stephanie Burbridge Hall, thank you for reaching out. But I was sitting there breathing. And for those of you who've birthed children, there's a breathing exercise you do when you're working through that. And I remembered that real quick over the past 48 hours, and I was breathing through it. So, and I thought about when I was breathing, how calm I was behind that and how things just changed. So y'all, we have to learn and practice breathing. There's nothing wrong with it, okay? We have to learn and practice breathing. If you follow Davia on her Instagram, she had a breathing chart up on her story. I know the story's probably gone by now, but I don't know if it was a reel or where it was, but there's this breathing thing. If you follow her on Instagram, please check it out. If it's still up, follow that. It makes a difference. We have to learn how to breathe through some things instead of being stressed or frustrated or worrying. Breathe through, even in pain, breathe through. The other thing was stretch. And literally when I was lying on that bed, because it was my left side, my back left side, I kept stretching. And when I would stretch, I could feel relief. And I was like, wow, there's something to it. So to breathe and to stretch and to get relief. And then I was lying there having a mindset shift. I was like, it's time for us to shift our mindset. Marion says, if possible, can someone send me the link to get the book? Marion, I'll send it to you. I'll send it to your inbox. Yeah, I'll send it to you. Don't worry about it. So that mindset shift, to shift that mindset. So whatever you're thinking about, and let's say it's negative, shift it. You have the power to shift your mindset. Even when you're down, shift it. A couple of nurses came into the room and they're like, you are so calm. My husband was sitting there. He's like, well, she got some serious high tolerance of pain. And so we were having all of that conversation. And I said, well, I could choose. I said, no, I'm in pain. I know this hurts. I said, and I do have a high tolerance of pain. I said, but to sit here, I'm just thinking, okay, how could this be? What could really be happening? I said, so I'm just breathing, I'm stretching. I said, I'm sitting here writing, because they were like, are you working? I was like, mm-hmm. So I was sitting there doing different things. So we got to shift the mindset, and then moments of silence. There were times on that cart or whatever you want to call it in the ER room that I just wanted everything to be quiet. Like I didn't want the television on. I didn't want my husband talking to me, and I love him dearly. I want to just would you please be quiet? I was so agitated. And I'm going to tell y'all this, and he sometimes tunes in. So babe, I love you. I was so agitated because the jacket he had on, a rain jacket, every time he moved, I could hear it. And I was like, can you please take that jacket off? Because I just wanted silence. And he goes, is this bothering you? I was like, yes, it's bothering me. And he did take it off, and it was totally different. I said, I just wanted peace. I wanted quiet. So having that moment of silence is powerful. And then speak life. Y'all, we got to speak life to ourselves. Don't rely on somebody else to speak life to you. Speak life to yourself. Focus. I started focusing on, okay, let me breathe through this pain. I started focusing on something. I started focusing on the beauty of God. I started focusing on my life. I started focusing on things that I believe God was speaking to me individually. I started focusing. So we have to focus and then offer grace. Offer grace to yourself. Offer grace. And when I put those 7 things together, I said, okay, we got to breathe, we got to stretch, we got to have a mindset shift. A mindset shift. We have to have moments of silence, speak life, focus, and then give yourself grace. Y'all, all of those things makes a difference. And I want to speak that to you today. Y'all, breathe. We breathe every day, but are we focused on our breathing? Are we taking our time and breathing through? That makes a difference. Stretch. Get up and stretch. Mindset shift. When you have that negativity coming in, shift that mindset. When you have that I can't coming in, switch it to yes, I can. Silence. Y'all, silence is golden. Seriously, just be still. Quiet the mind. Stop sitting there processing everything. Just stop. Just quiet all of this. Moments of silence. Speak life. Focus and grace. All right, y'all, until tomorrow, this has been News in Motion. I am your host, Gail Deli. Thank you all for the prayers. My God, thank you all for the prayers. Again, if you're just tuning in, this is coming. Okay, no, we're not having no pickups. I'm not meeting you at Starbucks. Nope, you're going to wait. I'm going to take my time, write y'all's messages in here, sign them. This is all for pre-orders. It's not on Amazon yet. It will be on Amazon once all the pre-orders are sent out. But I'm excited about this. I'm really excited. And if you want a book signing near you, just reach out to me. Let me know. We'll get that done. We'll get it done. And I'll thank you in advance for doing that. All right, y'all. Y'all know what I say. Stay well, everyone. And remember, Hester says, I need the link to get the book also. I'll send it to you. All right, y'all. Stay well. Remember to make bold moves. We're out.
News in Motion.